In 1868, the United States federal government signed a treaty with the Lakota people. The treaty allotted the 7 bands of the tribe 600,000 acres in rural southwest South Dakota. This land became known as the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. On the Pine Ridge Reservation in the Badlands of South Dakota, about 5 miles south of Scenic, is a place known to the Lakota people as the Stronghold, the Cuny, and Red Shirt Tables. In 1942, the United States War Department seized nearly 350,000 of the 600,000 acres from the Oglala Sioux, claiming eminent domain. The land was used by the United States Air Force for target practice with bombs containing radioactive materials until 1958, displacing approximately 125 Lakota families. By 1978, most of the land was returned, with the exception of about 4 square miles, the Cuny and Red Shirt Tables. Today, according to surrounding landowners, the national parks want control of the land to quote-unquote raise buffalo, although the land has not been thoroughly rid of all undetonated devices and radioactive debris.
Red Shirt Table and Cuny Table, where the Stronghold Table is located, is part of a land base that was taken from our tribe and our tribal membership, individual landowners, by eminent domain through the United States government back in the 1940s.
But in regards to its history, it was a stronghold, especially when the Wounded Knee Massacre took place, but it was the stronghold before that. You go into the stronghold and you don't know the area, you will get lost. And that was part of our defenses.
It's a piece of land where our ancestors fled to when they were on the brink of being assimilated by a cavalry, the government. It's a place where they took refuge. You can see all directions from this place.
Prior to the massacre at Wounded Knee in December 1890, members of the Home Guard, or what is now known as the South Dakota National Guard, fired upon Lakota ghost dancers high atop the stronghold in the area now known as the South Unit. It was said that the ghost dance would bring back the buffalo to the wandering Lakota people and return the quality of life they had prior to the arrival of white settlers. When the dust settled, an estimated 80 ghost dancers lay lifeless atop the Stronghold Table. It was said that members of the militia threw their frozen bodies from the sides of the plateau. Remnants of the ghost dancers have recently been unearthed during a fossil dig. It is for these reasons, among others, that this land is considered sacred to the Lakota people.
This land is so sacred, it is not for us to be taken, it is not for us to give.
One of the only reasons is that they're trying to make the first, what they consider the first tribal national park, Indian national park with any tribe, which at this point in time with some of the homework I've done is not exactly true. Down south and in Navajo country and Hopi country, they've already have a tribal national park area. Looking at that is, brought upon our people in a real bad way. There was no communication levels. There was none, nor from the national parks on consultation on making it a tribal national park, nor was there none done with our tribal council, nor was there none done with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The superintendent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs has the authority to stop anything that would be harmful to our land or to our people. And at this point in time, they have not stepped up to protect any of it.
The National Park Service at hand with our tribal council enforcing it, pushing our relatives off their land, off their livelihood, is a whole total drop on our lap. We were not informed of it until this year. Out of the blue, it come out on a council meeting through Keeley, highway to highway, record table to the Cuny Table Road over to the Rocky Ford Visitor Center, the Scenic Road. This brought concern to my relatives as to find out what is really going on.
I have family up there, the Swallow family, and then if eminent domain or condemnation is used, then there will be a lot more people moving out of there, including me and my family. We actually own land up there.
12 Tugels, and my grandmother, Delphine, was the youngest. She passed away in '96. So now I am left with my uncles and my aunts, and this is why I am in this struggle for them. Yes, I have land down there. It's inheritance land through her, through my grandmother. A number of relatives all along the highway, Retchert Table to Oglala, and through the other BIA route up on Cuny Table down to Rocky Ford. In the infrastructure of the plan is highway to highway. We do not know what highway to highway. There's no highway mentioned in there. There's numerous BIA routes on there, but there's no routes, there's no numbers. As far as we know, it could be from Highway 79 clear over to Sioux Falls somewheres, and boom, our reservation will go into government hands.
I believe there is. I think that we could look back at. There has been some test wells drilled out there. The actual locations I'm not aware of, but given the opportunity, since I know the country, if given me the right map, I'm sure I could locate them test wells and what was they used for. Other people have seen them out there that hiked around out in the South Unit. What actually is becoming of it, and what is behind it? What are they looking for? When you ask that question, I have to think of the XL pipeline currently that's being fought by our nations, the Sioux nations, and coming through Indian territory. On one hand, my tribal leaders are opposing the XL pipeline, but on the other hand, they're working with the National Park Service, the government service, and to condemn our lands and make use of it as the tribal first tribal national park. I'm not getting the picture that what's their reasoning behind it. When just kind of foreseeing things, I think that it's opening a doorway for them to bring that pipeline right through the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, especially if they do condemn it and turn it over to the national parks.
The national park is a name that the government uses as a tool to obtain this land. And the other tool, the main tool that gets every Lakota by the grips, through our bloodlines, through our thought, through our spirituality, is Tatchanka, our buffalo. Let them see if they can raise these buffalo on this little parcel of land. We'll give them 1,000 head. We go highway to highway. National Park Service is a tool, a wording, their language. This is my opinion, my personal opinion. This is my struggle, why I am doing what I am doing. The second tool is the buffalo the Tatanka, they used that to obtain this land. Condemned land. They exploded bombs on it. They tested numerous kinds of bombs on this land. Explosions. My grandmother and grandfather, they had no rest down in Retchert village. They had to move off of the table up. If you ever go through Retchert Table Village, up on a table up there by Christ Church, was numerous households all the way along the ridge. On one hand, you've seen the beautiful Badlands. On the other hand, you've seen our sacred Black Hills. They moved them to a tiny village. They gave them officer huts. So that is where they lived, down in this village, down where the planes will fly over and drop these bombs. The explosions startle you, shake the ground. This is what they told me. But still, they lived there. They had nowhere else to go. They couldn't pack up and go back into our Black Hills. They had nowhere. They had to stay right there because this is the land that the government gave them, the reservation. So the tool of using the buffalo through our hearts and then watching the buffalo trying to survive while they wither away on this condemned land through these explode bombs. Whatever was inside of those bombs are still inside Unchimakha, sacred Mother Earth. And underneath, once these buffalo start digging up, and whatever comes up through the air, and these buffalo go breathe it, we cannot eat the buffalo. And who's to say we could eat them in the first place when they are going to be government owned? But after these buffalo start killing over and dying in the Badlands, then the government will condemn it again. And they will accidentally find uranium. Uranium is already there. We already know this. There's oil on one hand, there's uranium on the other.
I feel that the hardest thing for us is being able to have a voice in saying, yes, it's good, or no, it's not good for us. They haven't given us the opportunity to voice our opinion, other than what you've heard tonight here at the Cuny radio station. That was the second time we was on air. Their programs have been aired many times now. They've had many so-called public meetings, but only their story was told. We was never allowed to get up and tell why we have opposition. Today I carry a map to show the people that there is many individual landowners that are going to be affected by this tribal national park in the very near future if condemnation is used. As our chiefs has said in the past, they've made many promises but only kept one, and they promised to take our land, and that's what they took. And now today, I got to look back to 1975 when President Wilson was involved in getting our lands turned back to our tribe after they had been condemned and people moved off their homelands to be made a bombing range. And now this particular group, core group of people, along with a few tribal council people, are persistent on wanting it to be a tribal national park. But in order for it to be a tribal national park, they have to turn their lands over to the national park. So what the battle was in 1975 and our lands being returned, and then it truly wasn't returned to the actual landowners. We, the people, the government, have not had our say in what's happening with that particular situation in the South Unit. They're looking to use condemnation to take our lands again, just like they did in 1940s.
Well, I think what makes it the saddest is our lands being taken after they find something worth value to them, and then we find out afterwards we're going to be taken. Our lands are going to be taken. It's like those that live on the land that out of this park. You know, the government can just take their lands and they have nothing, and that's what it's coming to it. The loss of our lands, our homelands. And our homelands were the Black Hills and central United States, Wyoming, and so forth. We followed the buffalo. Now we can't even. We got so many fences up, you know, and a lot of cattle. We can't hunt anymore. We're put on a reservation where our hunting lands are somewhere else. And then if our lands are taken, as some people will be losing their lands, that is terrible. That affects me probably the most, knowing that we may not have something for even our great grandchildren down the line.
On Tuesday, April 15, 2014, Tribal Chief Justice Mary Wynn set aside 3 weeks for a trial starting July 28, 2014, to consider petitions from Tubals and Red Shirt Table landowners asking the Tribal Council to stop canceling grazing land leases and using condemnation to expand the South Unit. All 19 Tribal Council members were named as defendants. The defendants requested a continuance, but were denied. The Crazy Horse Tribal National Park is the tentative name for the project and will include up to 1,000 head of tribally owned buffalo. Park planners claim it could bring up to 200 new jobs, but tribal members fear the National Park Service will provide few, if any, jobs for Oglala Sioux tribal members. Core team planners insist there will be no deeded property or private land seized. Some consider this a moot point since the vast majority of reservation land technically still belongs to the federal government and is only entrusted to the tribe and its members. Currently, non-Indians control more than 65% of the reservation lands in the United States. Unfortunately, that number is closer to 90% on some reservations.